AEGLives Productions, in association with MichaelJacksonInsider.com, presents
What would you say to AEG's argument that is, if the Jackson family was not so involved with Michael Jackson, they could help him and deal with his problems, how can you expect them to move forward?
Well, AEG was in the best position to have they said he needed them for his funds. They could use his whole life. So you go see the appropriate doctor and come back. We're not going on to the person. They're the only ones that really have the ability to do something about it. And they chose not to.
Could you elaborate on that a little bit more? Again, a lifetime of knowing her son, a lifetime of about knowing, you know, what she heard about her husband, and yet in the 3 months that Conrad Murray was there, they somehow were supposed to know what was going on.
Well, they did know. Their email said he either has this physiological or chemical problem. They did know that, and they did nothing about it. He is deteriorating in front of their own eyes. He is losing weight. You saw the picture. They did know it, and they didn't do anything about it. The family, they talked about it, but they didn't know what was going on. He wasn't having those symptoms. As you heard them all say, he was fine. He wasn't rambling. He wasn't talking to God. He didn't have paranoia. He didn't look emaciated. He didn't have any of those symptoms.
That was one night, primarily.
You don't become like that in one night. It was a progression. Did you not hear the evidence that over 8 weeks he deteriorated in front of their eyes? That is not one. No, that was an email that was sent to the tops of AEG to the CEO, Tim Lewicki. This man had deteriorated over 8 weeks and they did nothing. His family never saw that. You heard what his mother said. If she had seen all that, she would have taken Mike to the hospital. But they didn't do that. They didn't get an independent doctor. They didn't do any of that. They didn't say no rehearsal until you get checked out and come back. They're the only ones that had the power to do that. The family couldn't do that. But AEG could. They were in the best position to do it, and they didn't do it.
What's your assessment of this jury and an aggressive cross-examination involving a woman?
You know, only time will tell. I'm sure the lawyers are proud that they can aggressively cross-examine an 83-year-old woman, and I hope that makes them proud that they were able to do that. But certainly people like Mr. Gongor and Mr. Phillips that are working every day and employed by AEG, they weren't able to answer questions. They didn't remember hardly anything.
There was 80 hours of This Is It footage. How come we didn't see anything of Michael being sick or messed up or talking to himself or anything in that?
Kenny Ortega's testimony, the video, the AEG cut it. Kenny Ortega never watched 80 hours. Kenny Ortega watched what they gave him, and they cut it down to put Michael in the best light. And the film was never intended to be a replication of what Michael Jackson did in rehearsal. So the evidence clearly establishes that that was not the purpose. And why would AEG put out a film that shows Michael in bad condition when they know it's going to harm them? And you saw the emails where they said to hide certain footage in the vault and to don't put that in the documentary.
Can't you subpoena those out?
We're working on that as we speak. You are. And we don't know. I mean, you know, we don't even know that they gave it all. Remember, Mr. Ortega, no one could say that AEG provided Sony with all the outtakes. How do we know that? Mr. Ortega can tell us that.
So, with the end of Mrs. Jackson's testimony, defense is now out. Your thoughts as you look forward to the next weeks?
I look forward to now myself having a chance to cross-examine these AEG witnesses and their experts and to show this to the lawyer-created defense. AEG knew they didn't do that.
You say you're working on the outtakes for This Is It. Can't you just tell the judge, Your Honor, we want them?
No, because they're not in the possession of AEG.
Describe a lawyer-created defense.
Lawyer-created defense. Here's a contract signed by someone. Here's someone that's working, but a lawyer would say, well, it wasn't signed by another person. That lawyer, a technicality, not a reality. That's a lawyer-created defense.
Can you tell me?
This is the outtakes. I mean, the case Sony. Can you subpoena them?
So everything's underway right now. But it really doesn't matter because they never wanted to film him when look bad, and you heard them say, don't put the cameras on him when he looks bad.
Can you tell me how...
No, we're not, because we saw Mr. Ortega and other potential witnesses.
Mr. Banish, sometimes Mrs. Jackson was a little bit frustrated with the questioning that she was getting from Mr. Clinton. Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
She was asked the same question over and over. The judge finally said, you asked that question. She tried to answer. She tried to be nice to Mr. Clinton. I don't think he tried to be nice to her. But that's not for me to determine. He's trying to do his job. That's for the jury to assess.
In fact, in her deposition, she said that there were some questions that were out of line.
I mean, you heard what she said. Do you think that whether her husband beat her or not has anything to do with the death of his son? I don't think so, but maybe Mr. Putnam will explain why he asked that question. All right? Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Putnam, what are you hoping the jury takes away?
Hold up. Wait. Hold up. Commercial.
We have to, what are you hoping the jury takes away from the testimony you heard over the past couple of days?
By that you mean testimony of Mrs. Jackson?
Mrs. Jackson, yeah. What are you hoping the jury takes away from Mrs. Jackson's testimony?
Well, I think that, what I hope they take away is the truth of the situation. She's been here for 12 weeks. Sure. Mrs. Jackson's been here for the last 12 weeks. They've been putting on their case for 12 weeks. And she was their culminating witness. She's the person that they're ending their case with, and that's what they did with Mrs. Jackson on Friday. And so we had the opportunity to ask her a couple questions. She'll come back later in our defense, so we haven't done that yet. But we were allowed to ask some questions about the areas that they asked about on direct as their culminating witness. And what I hope the jury understood from that, and I'm sure they did, I think it was pretty plain, is that there are a lot of enormous inconsistencies between what has been being said and what the truth is. And Mrs. Jackson now made that clear. You saw her testify that during her son's lifetime, she had reported to the world and to the press that he never had a problem with prescription drugs. You saw her testify that during her son's lifetime, she had made statements to the world that it was known that her son had gone into rehab. And she also had made that famous statement that she made that we watched, where she said that he had never been, there had never been an attempted intervention by the family. These are things that were said throughout her son's lifetime. And it was said so that the world wouldn't know the truth. However, she had to go on to testify to what the actual truth of the situation was. And as we now know, Michael Jackson had a long-time problem with prescription drugs. So what had been told to the world during his lifetime wasn't true. We also now know that he went into rehab. So the idea that he hadn't gone into rehab is just not true. And importantly, Mrs. Jackson herself was involved in the attempted intervention of her son. And Mrs. Jackson herself had conversations with her son about her concern about his use of prescription drugs. And you saw that what she said was that in each of those instances, her son's reaction was absolute denial. And in fact, he got really angry with her. He got really angry with his siblings at this intervention. He got really angry with her personally when she tried to talk to him about this. And remember, these are years and years apart. I mean, it wasn't like it happened in one instance. And he got very angry. He adamantly denied these things. And as you saw, that the intervention wasn't successful. And I think that's the important thing for the jury to take away. Mrs. Jackson has indicated, and we believe it to be true, that no one had a closer relationship than she did with her son, Michael Jackson. And yet, she did everything. She endeavored to ensure the world didn't know about her son's longtime problem with prescription drugs, about his going to rehab, about the attempted interventions. And as a result, it would be impossible for people outside of his inner circle to know all of these things. And I think that's what the jury has to understand when assessing what actually happened in 2000.
So what actually happened in your opinion in 2009?
Well, I think what happened we can see because she's actually testified. So what happened was a concert company was called by Michael Jackson and his representatives. He contacted AEGLive and wanted to learn about the company and learn about what they did, what their business was, and how they did it. Michael Jackson then, after approaching AEGLive, decided that he wanted to go back into the concert business, and he wanted to go back into the concert business and work with the concert promoter and producer AEGLive. That was his choice. He asked to do that. He asked to meet with them. They then went about doing the things that he asked to try to help him put together a tour so that he could come back and perform at the O2. And that's what actually occurred here, as we've seen the testimony of, they had little interaction with Michael Jackson in terms of the production and promotion of that. They certainly saw nothing that would indicate that he was having any problems, and that's what the testimony actually showed. In fact, Mrs. Jackson went on to say that she never discussed these issues with AEGLive, with Paul Gongware, with Randy Phelps. These were things that she never even discussed with Michael Jackson's or managers, business consultants, agents. She never let them know what was actually happening in Michael Jackson's life, because the entire thing here was they kept his private world private as best they could, and now they would like to blame somebody else for things that only they do privately. And I think that's what the jury took away.
AEG has been forgive me. Jackson family's case has been probing central questions. What did AEG executives know about Michael Jackson's drug use? When did they know it? And what should they have done about it? It seems you ask those same questions today of Katherine Jackson. Why? Explain why.
Well, I ask those questions because Mrs. Jackson has indicated that what she's trying to do here is to go out and blame someone else for what happened to her son. And it's understandable she loved it, but you also have to understand that all these facts have come out about what they actually knew and were not able to do anything about. And yet, she's now looking to blame someone else for the very things that she and her family knew. And that's why those questions arise.
What did the Nation of Islam have to do with this? We're asking about that.
Well, it's interesting that they tried to misuse this, which is really a shame. What happened, as you no doubt know, is that after Mr. Jackson's passing, we tried to figure out what actually happened. And to find out what actually happened, you need to talk to the people who were there, the people who were in his house, the people who were in heroin, because we weren't. Right? So if we're going to find out what actually happened, we need to talk to the people who were actually there. And a number of people in Mr. Jackson's family, his brothers and sisters, have indicated that it was very difficult to get even a meeting with the brothers, to even get to talk to him. And the reason was because he had created a wall around him, and part of that wall, they said, was created by the Nation of Islam and his security. And so we asked, who are these people? How can we find them? And that's all that question is.
Mr. Buckley, there are seemingly contradictory statements.
It's an interesting thing to note. As you'll see, every single question that was asked by her attorney, she could remember with spectacular precision. But whenever I asked her similar questions for a period of time, someone couldn't remember. I'm not sure why that is. It's absolutely true, and you've seen it, that many people have difficulty remembering a specific period of time. So I'm not saying that it's untrue. It's just as interesting to note. Not only did she not recall anything, but whenever I would show her some testimony from her daughter, her son, one of her daughter's books, from even her own deposition testimony, where she'd suddenly not be able to remember, and I would go to show her any of these bits of information that talked about the same event or occurrence, she still couldn't remember even after looking at them.
Mr. President, is there a danger in aggressively cross-examining an 83-year-old woman who's lost a son?
Of course. And I would like to believe that I didn't. I just wanted to know the facts of her. And there was no reason to be aggressive with her. I think everyone will agree I wasn't aggressive with her. I don't think that's necessary. That said, the only aggression we saw in the courtroom was by her attorney with her. When he started screaming questions at her and she broke into tears. That was not me asking those questions. That was her own.
We also saw some aggression coming from her, too.
She was combative.
She was combative. But listen, I think that you can't blame Mrs. Jackson for that. I think that it's none of us want to find ourselves in a situation where we're happy to confront the very public death of our child. I mean, while it's true that she brought this lawsuit, while it's true that she's been exposed many times, nonetheless, that doesn't make it an easy situation.
She seemed upset, accusing you of asking her why Jackson beat her. Did you ask that question?
She never asked that.
No, I mean, she suggested on the stand that you had asked that question.
Her attorney said
Sir, you should listen to the testimony, and I'll address it.
Didn't she bring that up on
No,
the
she
stand?
didn't bring that up. All right, everybody else.
Yes.
Yes, she did.
Yes, she did.
You are now poised
She brought it
in
up.
your defense. As we
You're now moving into our
But did
offense.
you ask her that question?
Sir, I understand that you represent the plaintiffs, and I understand that you repeat their testimony every day.
No,
Let me answer other people's questions.
Well,
you would make it very clear. But let me finish. In terms of them, yes, they indicated that they're done with their case.
She did say that.
That said, as you know, I'm sorry, they've indicated that they're done with their case, and that we can now move on to ours. As you've seen, we've just called our first person. And so we hope to be fun. And that said, they've also indicated that there might be a couple other people to call, and so we're still looking forward to seeing who that
But I mean, as you begin your case in chief, what do you want to say as we look now at a new chapter in this project?
Well, I hope what we're able to do is be able to bring all of the various people, okay, who were involved in the tour, who can talk about what they actually saw, what actually occurred here, as opposed to all of the speculation that they've sought to draw out in their case in chief. In addition, importantly, as we noted in our opening, what we're also going to do is bring all of the many, many, many doctors that Mr. Jackson met with, both over the decades before his passing, but also really in just the months prior to his passing, to find out what exactly happened in those very confidential, very private conversations that he had with his various doctors. Because now that he's passed, and they've put his history into issue, we're allowed to actually bring that testimony.
So will you be putting Michael Jackson on trial?
I don't think you can put Michael Jackson on trial. There's no question in anyone's mind, nor should there be, that Mr. Jackson had a real monkey on his back. Addiction is a very serious and horrible problem.
Excuse me, you said addiction, but they say that he was dependent because he had real issues, physical issues that he was trying to deal with, and especially since they didn't find any drugs in his body except for propofol, most of all when he passed. So what do you say to that?
I think that's right. I think that what we've seen is precisely that he had an ongoing issue with various opiates for decades. But we have no indication that they had any role in his passing. And I think that's 100% right.
Most of the pills were full that was in the room, so we don't even know if he had an ongoing program, ongoing problem, but that he did have ongoing pain that he was trying to deal with.
And that's 100% right, and that's important, because what Michael Jackson died of, okay, what has been shown by the coroner, what was shown in the criminal trial, was that Michael Jackson died of an overdose of a drug called propofol that was being given to him by his doctor behind locked doors, upstairs with security out front. That is what actually killed Michael Jackson. And that is an issue that no one had any idea about except for his doctors. Because he had only ever had the discussions about propofol with his doctors. It was a drug that almost no one here has ever heard of before the passing of Michael Jackson. And therefore there's absolutely no way that AEGLive or anyone but his doctors could have any idea that he had this problem until he very sadly and very tragically died.
Are you planning on bringing Dr. Murray?
No, as we indicated, they have the burden of proof.
Okay, go back there.
That should answer your question. They have the burden of proof in this case, and because they have the burden of proof in this case, I only have to defend against the case they brought, and I don't believe they've met their burden of proof. So there's lots of things that we don't need to do because they haven't managed to prove it.
Did I hear you correctly that you plan to call Katherine Jackson back again?
Yes.
Okay, and then also that they may bring someone.
There seemed to be that indication.
Okay. All right, thank you.
So you're not going to answer the question about the depot? Did you ask her if Joe beat her?
Sir, as I'm sure you're probably aware, I understand you'd like to say you're not, but as you're probably aware, what you have done.
I'm not on trial here. I'm asking you a question. Katherine Jackson.
Would you like me to finish the answer, sir? Are you, as we've noted, uninterested in the answers? You just want to do what the plaintiffs have to say. Would you like me to actually give you the answer, sir?
Please.
The thing about depositions were that they are confidential. Okay? What occurred in those depositions was confidential at Mrs. Jackson's request. Therefore, I am not at liberty to go into the private matters that went into in that deposition.
But she, on the stand today, mentioned it. She accused you of asking for that in deposition.
Yes, she did.
And what's your response to that?
I'm not going to go into what went into about the very tragic history Michael Jackson had with his parents and father over the period of his life. That is something that we did not go into on the stand because it's not.
So it won't come up in the trial?
That's my knowledge.
Beyond her statement.
I mean, her attorneys have tried to bring it up, like they've tried to bring up a lot of things that are inappropriate in this trial. But I'm not bringing it up.
Okay.
Thousands believed Tupac did it. Millions believed Elvis did it. But did Michael Jackson really do it? E-movie book, Pseudocide, Did Michael Jackson Fake His Death to Save His Life? By author Pearl Jr. It's the most shocking true story of our lifetime. Order yours today. Go to michaeljacksonpseudocide.com. That's michaeljacksonpseudocide.com. Elbow Grease Productions in association with MichaelJacksonInsider.com presents
What would you say to AEG's argument that is, if the Jackson family was not so involved with Michael Jackson, they could help him and deal with his problems, how can you expect them to move forward?
AEG was in the best position to have they said he needed them to make a uses all the money. Until you go see the appropriate doctor and come back, we're not going on to the university. They're the only ones that really have the ability to do something about it, and they chose not to.
Could you elaborate on that a little bit more? Again, a lifetime of knowing her son, a lifetime of about knowing, what she heard about her husband, and yet in the 3 months that Conrad Murray was there, they somehow were supposed to know what was going on.
They did know. Their email said he either has this physiological or chemical problem. They did know that, and they did nothing about it. He is deteriorating in front of their own eyes. He is losing weight. You saw the picture. They did know it, and they didn't do anything about it. The family, they talked about it, but they didn't know what was going on. He wasn't having those symptoms. As you heard them all say, he was fine. He wasn't rambling. He wasn't talking to God. He didn't have paranoia. He didn't look emaciated. He didn't have any of those symptoms.
That was one night, primarily.
You don't become like that in one night. It was a progression. Did you not hear the evidence that over 8 weeks